All right. What is up, everybody? Sorry for running a few minutes late here, but it's been a crazy couple of days. All right. So if you're new here, we get some new faces from time to time, but we're together for another Thursday night live stream. That's what we're doing. I can't even talk. Yeah, I need to get some more sleep, I'll tell you what. But you guys can see by the thumbnail, which was a little bit late this evening, sorry about that we've got some good whiskey in store, and then we also have some blind whiskey, some stuff I don't know what I'm going to be sipping on. So let me run everybody down what is going to be going on this live stream. But before I do that, I'm going to grab my Eagle Rare, because that is always my warm-up pour on blind flight nights. I'm going to say hello to some of you guys in the chat. As you make your way in here, we've got like 20 or so folks in here right now. Hit that like button on your way, and let's get some more people in here this evening. Running late, get the thumbnail up late. That usually means a smaller audience until people start getting notified, subscribers of the stream and everything. So that's on me, but please help me and throw a like on the video. Give me 1 sec. All right. So get a little Eagle Rare in the glass, and we're going to kick things off. Let me know what you're sipping on. Hope you guys have had a good week so far. It's actually been a great week. We're playing some incredible music this week with the orchestra, having a lot of fun playing some drum set, doing all sorts of stuff, which is just really great. Really, really good stuff. And we've already got a crazy super chat in the mix, so that is very cool. So we got Top Dog. Cheers all. I'll be in the background cooking dinner. Cheers to you, Top Dog. I got to have my first little sip here of the evening. We got Top Dog. We got Sugar Kitty in here. Tuxedo Toolbox. Shauna. Good to see all of you. Oh, there she is. Amy Bohm. Legendary Amy in the house. Good to see you, Amy. Good to see your name pop up. Univpoke. Hey, man. How are you doing? And here we go. We got a $50 super chat already in here. Toshi, man, thank you so much. I'm tracking super chats right now, so let me get you in for 10 entries. I appreciate it. We'll talk about the giveaway right now. Actually, this is gonna get us there. But here we go. LFG Evening Cam. Once I get home, I'm gonna be tasting through some of the samples you sent from the giveaway last week. Opening a 13th Colony Double Oaked, which is not something that I've had yet. I'm so curious about this 13th Colony stuff. It looks like freaking motor oil. 135-ish proof, double oaked. Old, right? Like 9-year Georgia bourbon. And an Old Fitz 14. I've not tried the 14, nor have I tried the 16. I've only had, I think, the 8, 9, 13, 17, 19. So a fair few of them, but not all of them by any means. Going to be a good night watching your stream and some good drinks. Yeah, hopefully some good drinks. I'm kind of at the mercy of Sarah tonight. She poured me a 5-pour blind flight. Although we are going to kick off with some Discovery 9. Very excited about that. I might do a Scotch at the beginning of this stream. I know that's not going to attract many viewers who see this on passing through their YouTube, scrolling through. They see Glenfarclas on the screen and they might just be like, I don't know about this. That's okay, though. That's okay. You got to drink Scotch from time to time. And I was thinking around before this stream, like, what's going to take a pretty picture for the thumbnail, because I had like 15 minutes to get the thumbnail up. So I saw these Glenfarclas bottles in my basement, and I thought, maybe I'll taste a few of these side by side. So we'll see what we get into with those. We'll see if we get to them or not. I told myself I was going to do a short stream tonight, and you guys know how that goes. I say short stream, and 3.5 hours later, here we are. All right, Toshi. Amy, I would totally love it if you wanted to track. That would take a load off of what I'm doing over here. That would be much appreciated, especially as I get into the blind flight. It's always hard to track when I'm trying to write down things for the blind and everything. So, yeah, Amy, you sent me that link. Is it going to be under that same link in the email? Let me see. I've got a. Oh, I see the spreadsheet. Here we go. This is the link. So is it going to be in this same one, Amy? Same link. Cool. All right, I've got it pulled up. So Guys, let's talk real quick giveaway for this evening. And thank you again, Toshi, for getting us started there with that $50 super chat. That's insane, man. I sincerely appreciate you. I hope you enjoy those samples. I don't think I sent you anything. I can't send you what you can send me. Let's just put it that way. You have some real serious stuff over there. But every $5 super chat tonight or Venmo, PayPal directly, link to those things is in the description of this video. I'm going to give away 2 full sample packs, Bardstown Discovery Series 1 through 9. So I'm about to taste batch 9 right now. You'll get my thoughts on it. I'm going to compare it to batch 6 and batch 7. I thought those would be the most apt comparisons. We'll see if that's the case. I'm not sure. But batch 9 is going to be kind of the main event pour at the beginning of the stream before we get into this blind flight. And again, it's going to be a 1-ounce sample pack of all of the Bardstown releases, except for batch 9. I'm going to give you 100 milliliters. I'm going to give a 100 ml flask. So hopefully that's enough batch 9 for you to do comparisons next to all the other batches. Maybe you have to do 2 or 3 at a time, realistically, with only 100 milliliters of this. But I think that's a pretty solid giveaway. So 100 mils of batch 9 and a full sample pack of 1 through 8 1-ouncers, which is going to be cool. So that's what we've got this evening. Awesome. I got to get another sip going. SD3 Gunner says the Glenfarclas is what made me click. I'll take that. So what do you guys think? I've got essentially a 3-part stream if I include the scotches in here. Discovery 9 for sure. The blind flight is a second part. And the scotches, which I have 3 Glenfarclases here. I have the 10, the 21, so 2 very different ages. 10, 21, and then the cask strength 105. If I did all 3 of those parts, where would you like to see the scotches? You want to do them first? Maybe a little lower proof before we get to Bardstown Discovery 9? Let me know in the chat relatively quickly, and I'll get through the rest of the chat here and then hopefully have that figured out. Thanks again, Amy, for tracking. Okay, cool. That's all updated. Beautiful. Okay. Are you Schlammer? Let's get up here. Says, having some Middle West Spirits weeded bourbon. That's a great choice. I love the cask strength stuff. In fact, my favorite finished Middle West Spirits product is definitely the sherry finished wheat whiskey at cask strength. A lot of people like the bourbon. I think the bourbon's fine. The port, to me, the port finished pumpernickel rye, I think the port kind of overtakes it. But that wheat whiskey, for some reason, handled the finish well. Maybe it just was pulled out of the barrel a little bit sooner, so it wasn't blown out. So, yeah. Toshi says, I think the 13th colony is 8 years and then another 18 months in a new barrel. That's insane. That's crazy stats for a craft distillery. Yeah, wow. Toshi says, I'll send you some of that. Oh, man. You have a William LaRue from 2013. You send the craziest stuff, man. I'm not going to say no, but I am going to feel guilty about opening that box. Amazing. Cheers to you, Miracle Martinez. Britsu says, what's a good beginner? Let's do a little Glenfarclas first, guys. So, again, please hit that like button tonight. Again, I didn't get the thumbnail up until very late, so the audience is small for right now. Let's bring this back up. Usually we get 100 plus in here every evening within the first 20 minutes. So if you guys can help out, hit that like button. It'll really help boost things this evening. Let's get into a little bit of Glenfarclas, and then we can talk Scotch very quickly. Then we'll go to the Bardstown Discovery 9, which is going to be the giveaway. Get thoughts on that, some comparisons, and then go into a blind flight once things are a little more tipsy, a little warmer on the inside. Then we can get into the blind flight, and let's just call that good training. Let's reframe. Let's make this a positive thing. So, from your left to right, I need to clear the table just a bit. From your left to right, we've got the 10-year, the 21-year, and then the 105 all the way on your right. Okay. I also brought out a Talisker 10. I was just kind of digging around with what I had in the basement, and I saw the Talisker 10, I thought, maybe we'll get to this, maybe not. But I had 2 conversations today where peated whiskey came up in 2 different conversations with some colleagues in the orchestra, and I was like, maybe let's pull a peated out of here and see what we get. Bourbon Neophyte, cheers to you, man. Good to see you. Oh, it's no worries, Toshi, man. I just appreciate you sending me anything. Jeez. The O-Face Maker says, mix them all together in a shot glass and hammer them down. I don't know about that. But this is going to be a good one because, kind of the lowdown on Glenfarclas is that this is a sort of no-frills Scotch whiskey, right? Single malt Scotch, very kind of classic Highland style, utilizes sherry casks, and we're not talking all first fill sherry. We're talking reused sherry casks in large part. But I think what makes Glenfarclas so popular and why so many people like them is that it's no frills, and with it being no frills, you get pretty plain presentation with the tubes. That's not a bad thing because it keeps the cost down. Glenfarclas is a wildly affordable Scotch. It's a great gateway, I think, for a lot of folks. And like 2 years ago, 1 year ago, something like that, the 25-year Glenfarclas was only $160. For 25-year Scotch, that's pretty insane. That's since gone up. Everything's gone up. But I do have some 25 left, decanted into a small flask. But what I have here, again, 10, 21, and the 105. So let's just check these out very quickly. Do a quick side-by-side. Hopefully by doing this, this will kind of show us what the... how this distillate ages from 10 years old, getting a feel for that, how it changes with an additional 11 years, and with a little bit more proof. And then going to the cask strength, which is presumably a pretty young Scotch, but at cask strength allows it to be more interesting, I would say. So let's go to the 10-year first, which is coming in at 80 proof, 40% ABV, so barely legal. See what we get on the nose here. Yeah, this is like, kind of reminds me of that Powers Irish Rye that I had last week. Just in the sense that there's a shortbread note on this. So what I get out of this is kind of like that Nilla wafer honey shortbread type note right away. There's definitely kind of like a yellow apple, pear type note to this. Yeah, it's kind of got that little bit of sourness to it in that way. Thinking of those fruits. But it's pretty simplistic. Through and through, we're talking bright fruit notes, gold, yellow, apple, pear, shortbread, vanilla, some honey notes going on. Maybe a little bit of golden raisin on this one, like a slightly darker dried fruit, and that's going to be coming from refill sherry casks. But otherwise, this thing is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And I would say when you look at this in comparison to like a Glenmorangie 10, you've Glenlivet, Glenfiddich 12, these kind of entry-level malts, I think this does a pretty good job of standing out. It's not in terms of proof, certainly, but the profile is just a little bit more interesting, I think, whereas the other ones tend to go a little brighter, a little sweeter, a little bit more approachable, let's say, from somebody who might be a totally new Scotch drinker. This one might challenge you a little bit more, at least off the nose, but I think it's a good challenge. I don't know if that makes any sense. So let's go to the palate now. Oh, yeah. Palate on this one is like a... excuse me, gosh. Palate on this one is like super cakey, right? Like, I say this on some young bourbons, a white cake note. Plays along with that vanilla shortbread type thing I talked about. There's definitely more of that on the palate here, which is just a young malt kind of note, as opposed to the fruit qualities, which I got on the nose quite a bit. I would say those take a back seat on the nose. Or on the palate, rather. But as I return to the nose, I think this thing is continuing to get a little bit more sour, which I like, It's got a tang to it, a little bit of an edge. And I think that's cool, especially for a 10-year entry-level single malt like this. What's up, Matt? Matt Porter. Dude, you're just in time for your favorite style of whiskey. Matt, I've got to make you like Scotch, dude. Sherry bombs. I've got to get you into some sherry bombs. All right. Little almond. Now, third sip. This thing's starting to show a little bit of nuttiness. Of course, from sherry casks, you're going to get some of that. But all in all, I feel like the 10, we'll see how it compares to the 21, what that age gap is doing. The 21 is 3% higher ABV, so 43%. Would love to see it at 46, but 43 is what we get. Wow. And it's amazing what those 11 years will do. So let's talk very quickly. Chat. Some of you were saying a second ago, and we've got some more folks heading in here, which is awesome. Please hit that like button, guys. We're going to get to the Discovery 9 here in a second with some comparisons. That is what the giveaway is focused on, a full flight of Discovery 1 through 9. Every $5 in Super Chats. But as you guys come in here, hit that like button. Britsu says, what's a good beginner Scotch for a bourbon rye drinker? You can go a couple different ways on this. Some people are going to tell you to go for things marketed to bourbon drinkers, like the Glenfiddich 14, which I think is called Bourbon Barrel Reserve, or, something along those lines. You'll see, red-breasted Kentucky Oak, which was I think it was a pretty big flop for special releases from those guys. So you can go for something that has that Kentucky or bourbon barrel thing in the title, and typically what that means is you're going to have a lot of brand new virgin oak as opposed to refill, previously used cooperage. And what that new oak is going to do is give you just a ton of vanilla notes. It's just heavy, heavy vanilla. People sometimes say coconut. I'm less of a fan of virgin oak for Scotch. I just think it blows it out of the water. It blows the distillate out. You lose distillery character in favor of just, notes that you would find on bourbons, I guess, is maybe a good way to put it. So I actually tend to point people less in that direction because a lot of folks, it turns them off in some ways. It almost hits a little too close to home, I think. I actually think getting someone into Scotch is easier with something that's further away. So the first thing that you should do is figure out whether or not you like peated stuff. You like smoky Scotch. So don't go for Laphroaig first. Go for like an Oban. Or maybe a Glen Scotia, something a little more gentle on the peat, but still has that character to it. Dalwhinnie even has a little bit of that in the background. I would say figure out if you like that, and if you don't like that, that's a good data point. You only really need to taste one Scotch to figure that out. You might grow to like it later, and if you don't like it, then you need to go to something Speyside, Highland, completely unpeated. At that point, I typically point people to Glenmorangie. I think Glenmorangie is a fantastic entry level. The Glenmorangie 10. The one that really got me in was the Glenmorangie 14 Quinta Ruban. I think that is maybe one of the best entry level Scotches for bourbon drinkers especially. A lot of bourbon drinkers find that they don't like sherry right away. They don't like sherry finished stuff. I think that makes sense. So I would work somebody into like a Glenmorangie 10, a Glenfiddich 15, I think is a great entry level. Go there first, then try out some more heavily sherried stuff and or go into peat. But a lot of people have different entries into Scotch, and I think all of that's, I think that's fine. I don't think there's really a prescribed path because we all do have such different palates. I got into it through peated Scotch. I got into it through Laphroaig 10, and I don't really know how that happened. All right, so let's go to the 21-year Glenfarclas now. Wow, and this is so much denser on the nose and significantly more dark, dry fruit notes. All right, so think dense, think rich, more layers, darker profile, but the fruit notes aren't fresh. They're fairly dry. And also, one thing that I don't think I've noticed on this 21 is the amount of kind of spice notes in this. So let's start from the bottom. Oh, Nancy Fraley. What is up, Nancy? Master Blender Nancy Fraley is in the house. That is awesome. How cool you're having some drams with Glenfarclas this evening. I totally agree with you. I'm not a real fan of virgin American oak for Scotch, too. I will... I'll take that as a win that Nancy Fraley agrees with me on the virgin oak thing. Yeah, I just think it... Maybe if you blended it, if it was just a component, 10, 20, 25% of a blend, I could see that working. But also, I think that's one of those notes. It's just... I've never had the opportunity to blend single casks of Scotch, but I would imagine that would probably wipe out a lot of other things. Like if you put virgin American oak with second fill sherry, third fill sherry, I would imagine that American oak is really going to be heavy-handed, even if you reduce the percentage in the blend. But that's totally speculation on my end. So much more spice on this Glenfarclas 21. A lot of times age smooths these things out in Scotch. This actually gets a little more boisterous after 21 years. Sure, it doesn't retain kind of the freshness of the 10-year quite the same. Wow. Interesting. So, I'm thinking like dried prune, like prunes. Yeah, this is like prunes. The other one I said golden raisin. This is just a darker sense of that dried fruit. Some sort of like syrup, some sort of like grape syrup note, almost like a snow cone syrup in this. It kind of reminds me a little bit, Glenfarclas 21, of 36% rye MGP at a high age. So I don't know that I've ever put that together either. But lots of cinnamon on this. Cinnamon spice, which is great. Cool. So, time to taste the 21. Wow. Interesting. I mean, for the price, you cannot beat these Glenfarclas bottlings. You really can't. Patrick Corrigan says, just picked up my first Scotch today. Wee Beastie. You went all out in your first Scotch. For you guys that aren't Scotch people, that's the Ardbeg Wee Beastie. It's a 5-year age-stated Scotch from Islay, which means it's going to taste like bacon, you know? It's going to have some smoked meat notes, a little bit of cigarette ash probably in there. The Wee Beastie is as the name suggests, that's a crazy one to start with. And that's a tough one, too. Matt gave that to me in a blind in last year's Matt Madness. He gave it to me and Bobby. And the age was deceptive on that. Because you taste peated Scotch, and it's so hard to judge age when you have high levels of peat in there. Oh, wow. What is up, Nick? Good to see you. Hey, guys, we have 61 in the chat. Let's keep bringing this number up. For those of you just now tuning in, I know I got my thumbnail up late. Notifications didn't really go out for the stream. I apologize. Hit that like button. Let's get a few more folks hanging out this evening. Nick, drinking Baker's 13. I've never had that, Nick. That is, I'm sure, a very cool pour. And excited to hear about Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery 9, and we're going to get there. Okay. Britsu says, thanks for the advice. Hey, anytime. I have no shortage of words. Thanks for asking. William Hall, and I hope it's good advice, I hope it's not. Some people are going to agree, some disagree for sure. Again, I just think it's very individual, and it's not a cheap thing to try to get into. It's easiest to find a friend that has quite a few scotches and just taste them through. Because if you go to a bar, it's a loud environment. You can't focus. It's expensive. You're probably drinking out of a rocks glass. It's not a good way to judge what you're into. William Hall says, I like Islay peated scotches. Not an overly big fan of the floral of the Highland. Speyside falls within the Highland taste for me. Yeah, Speyside, I think a little brighter, a little sweeter. Highland's a little bit more of a malty backbone to it. Like just maybe like a heftier whiskey is the way to say it. It's not always true. But I think the Islay peat is maybe the easiest thing to understand. And I think this is not a call out. I mean, if it is a call out, then I'm calling myself out. I think Islay is seemingly one-dimensional at first. You taste it and you go, I either love that or I hate it, because it tastes like Band-Aids, burning rubber, campfire, you know. So you either love it or hate it. And it's like a very, I don't know, it's clear. It's a very clear thing to taste. So I think because it's so black and white, it becomes a good litmus test. And it's easier to get into that if you just like that flavor. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes any sense. Travis, good to see you, man. I just passed you somewhere in the chat. There you are. Cheech, thank you so much for being here, man. Don't forget to hit that like button, he says. Michael Burns likes Bunnahabhain. Yeah. I haven't gotten... Look, I actually just had a sample of a 2017 special release PX finish. I want to say it was 14 years old. PX Bunnahabhain. Sounds right. It was so blown out of the water by the finish. Like, the malt was gone. It just tasted like PX, you know? But I've yet to find one that really wows me, though I've not had any of the crazy high age-dated expressions or, you know. Lido, good to see you, man. Yeah, getting a little Glenfarclas in the glass tonight. So the 10 to 21, you get a darker dram. It's fun to use words I would usually use for Scotch tonight instead of yee-hawing about American whiskey. No, I'm just kidding. It's fun to poke fun at Scotch and bourbon. But you get a darker pour into the 21. You get a little more aromatic spice. It feels French oaky, if that makes sense. Like you get kind of those more aromatic spice notes from French oak. It feels like there's more of that kind of a style on the 21. It's a little denser, a little richer, only 3% higher ABV, so definitely a lot of that. Again, we're talking Highland whiskey. A lot of that heft in the 21 is just coming from the time in the barrel. It's not going to come so much from just an extra 3% ABV. So that just shows you the impact of the barrel over those additional 11 years. So Matt Porter likes Craigellachie 13. I love Craigellachie, Matt. That's a dirty Scotch. I have a 14-year Ruby Port quarter cask back there, single barrel bottling. So good. Travis, from someone who doesn't like wine at all, it's difficult for me to get into Scotch. Yeah, that's tough. It's not for everyone, I will say that. Michael Burns, there's some solid bourbon barrel finished Scotches too. Fiddick 14 and Glenmorangie 15 Cad Bowl. The Glenmorangie 15 Cad Bowl is a very interesting Glenmorangie. I loved it when I first opened it. The more air my bottle got, I thought it turned so strangely sour, and it kind of fell apart. But Fiddick, for me, Fiddick 14, it's a little too in your face with the oak spice. And it's like that white pepper oak spice with tons of heavy vanilla. It's not my thing. But I know that a lot of people like it, and I understand why. Nancy's talking about some of her picks at Still Austin, which is awesome. Travis Jewell in for 2. Cheers from a bourbon newbie looking to try new stuff. Hey, if you win the one of the 2 Discovery flights tonight, I'm giving away 2 of these full flights. That's going to be those are good bottles, I'll tell you what. Discovery 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, you know, I think 6 is solid. 8 after some air. My bottle's gotten quite a bit of air. And we'll see about 9 here in just a second. We're almost wrapped up with this Glenfarclas flight. Okay. Gonna keep scrolling. Just good old me. What's up, Clay? Good evening, Cameron and all. Not a big Scotch guy, but got my start with Old Pulteney 12 and Highland Park 12. Good choices. Yeah, both of those have some of that, Highland Park especially, some of that, you know, island, coastal type profile. I love that. That sea spray note, little salinity in the whiskey. That's some of the best stuff. So anyways, Clay, good to see you, man. Thank you for the super chat. And Amy's got you counted in there. And thank you, Amy, for tracking tonight. Dave in CL asks, any recommendations on a low peat Scotch to get started? Let me think about that while I nose this Glenfarclas 105. Which, by the way, guys, it's called 105, but it's actually coming in at 60% ABV, or 120 proof, not 105 proof. All right, so this is cask strength Glenfarclas. And they say it's assertive, amazingly smooth for the strength. I suggest adding a little water to fully explore the 105's great depth. Let's see. Always go in for it neat first, I think. Wow. You can definitely get the alcohol punch on this one. But it's extremely floral on the nose, which is not something I would expect, even after, trying the 10-year, which is probably close in age to this 105, closer than the 21. Don't expect floral from this. But it's very floral, and maybe a little more tropical, too. So, let me kind of break it down. Yeah. All right, so there's a little bit of a gasoline note to this, and that might sound crazy, but I promise I don't think it's that crazy. It's something I also got in the Bardstown Origin Series Bottled and Bond Weeder. Has a gasoline note to it. This has a little bit of that. A little bit of pineapple on this one. So, again, I said it's kind of going more tropical on the fruit. But I think, again, the biggest standout here is just how floral. It's just flowers out of the glass. Extremely aromatic. And then a note that I'm not getting on either of the other two Glenfarclas is cocoa powder. So this one's kind of all over the place. It's cool that it's at cask strength, that you're getting a lot of off-profile notes, in my opinion, for Glenfarclas, at least having only tasted these two tonight, around 40 to 43%. This is 60. But it feels like it's off-profile in the sense that you're getting cocoa powder, heavy floral, gasoline, these kinds of things. I think that's interesting. And usually when you start adding water to whiskeys like this, things get brought to the surface. Things kind of merge together a bit, as it drops in proof. And maybe we can coax some other flavors out of this. I am going to throw some water in just a second, but I'm going to try it neat first. So here we go. That'll get you. That'll get you. Leather on that one. Leather. Dark cinnamon notes. Toffee notes. Pretty drying on the back end. Wow, what a strange Scotch. I've never known how, I've been hit or miss on this 105 and the couple times I've tasted it. I've had this bottle for quite a while, but there's actually only a few pours out of it because it's just not something I come back to often. So Dave, any recommendations on a low peat Scotch to get started? Did somebody say Octomore? DC. I thought I saw Octomore in the chat, and I'm like, if he's referencing this comment, DC, you're mean. Low peat Scotch. I like to recommend Oban. Oban, there's a lot. There's Little Bay. There's the 14. I love the 14. I think it's really great. Now, you can go to stuff that's not particularly peated, but has a little whiff of it, a little whiff of smokiness in the background. One of those. I mean, heck, guys. Even the Glenmorangie 14, the port finish, Quinta Ruban or Quinta Ruban, the newer bottlings of that have had a little bit of smokiness in the background. I know people are like, you're crazy. There's no peat in that. I know there's not. But there's a little smokiness in the background of that. So you really just want to test the waters with a tinge of smoke. Dalwhinnie 15 has something in the background. Oban. What do you guys think in the chat for a mild peat? Highland Park 12, Bourbon Neophyte. That's maybe one of the best recommendations right there. Highland Park 12, very mild. Yeah. Kilhoman. We've got a Kilhoman call out up here from SD3 Gunner. I'm not sure if I've ever had any Kilhoman. Maybe once. But if I have, it's been years. So that's a glaring error on my part. Michael Burns says, love the Scotch talk, excited for the disco flight, having a sip and enjoying the NCAA tourney slancha. Yeah, cheers to that. I'm not into the NCAA tournament, thankfully. I would just... Because, anything I get into, I obsess about. So I have to stay away from things. The only sport I watch is UFC. MMA. But really just UFC. I'm not really watching Bellator or One or any of those. Sugar Kitty says, if you want extra dirty at the moment, Bunnahabhain 12 cast strength. Man. See, I would actually like to try Bunnahabhain at cast strength. I think that would be good for me as somebody who hasn't found exactly what I like from them yet. John W., I am a Discovery 3 guy all the way. Still one of my favorite bourbons. I just think it's so good. I only have one backup right now, I think. All right. So, we all like cast strength whiskey. And the Glenfarclas 105 is consumable at cask strength. I don't think it should be consumed at cask strength. I think the bottle is correct. The bottle says, I suggest adding a little water to fully explore the 105's great depth, and that's what I'm going to do right now, because I just think this is a very, very sharp, and when you have a very sharp whiskey, and when you have a sharp whiskey that is also highly floral, those things combine in a dangerous way. And I think that's where that gasoline note comes from. So for those of you who have ever had this 105, maybe you could have it in the glass right now as you watch this. I don't know. But if you don't get the gasoline note that I'm mentioning, one, I could just be crazy and wrong. That is highly probable. Two is maybe I'm interpreting it differently. And one way I think to interpret it is that you have high ethanol coming out of the glass with heavy floral, and those things combine and might be giving me that sense of gasoline. So just maybe, I always try to reframe things sometimes when I'm talking tasting notes to see if we can get at the same result from different ways. Lito says, I would love to try, there's a 105 22 year. Oh God, I cannot imagine that. Hey Amy, I've got 20 in my Venmo, 4 entries from Keith Thompson. So 4 entries from Keith Thompson. Keith, thank you so much for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. I wish there was a way to put that on the screen and publicly say thank you in that way. So again, just make sure you guys tag Amy. She's tracking super chats tonight. If you send me something, I will also confirm by checking my Venmo, PayPal every once in a while here. Will Barrett, Talisker is a damn good. Yeah, I've got Talisker 10 on the table right now. To me, I guess it's low peat. I would say it's a little more than low for somebody that's not into peat, but I will agree with you in the sense that it's like a sweet smokiness. It's not too herbal, vegetal, earthy. It's like a sweeter, fresher smokiness. So maybe good. Maybe good for a beginner. Derek says Disco 3 is my personal favorite, though I missed one. Skipped. Yeah, no worries on skipping 5 and 6. That's a good call. Oh, Sugar Kid, I've never actually had is it Glencadam? How do you say that? Glencadam? I've never had that. Clay says Lowland Scotch distilleries seem to have this weird lemon profile, almost a bit soapy, especially Auchentoshan. I've only had Auchentoshan 3 wood, and my bottle is so sulfured that it's not even drinkable. It's still in my basement, hidden in the back of a lot of whiskey on a shelf. All right. Let's start throwing just a little bit of water into this Glenfarclas 105 while I keep going through the chat. Let's see what water does to this thing. Oh, that was too much in the cap. Okay. Benefits of having a cat. There's teeny little cat hairs everywhere. All right, so that was, I don't know, eight drops of water, and I poured a little more into the glass before I added the water. So let's see what this does. So Toshi, this I want to make a point of this, okay? Because I'm so glad you said this, because I had some interesting responses, and I've had a busy week, and I haven't been able to reply to people's comments on my latest video from Tuesday, the quick live stream reviewing Bernheim A223. Toshi says, I got home and wanted to try that Bernheim wheat A223 sample. Just poured it off. Oof, it's not good. I did the bottle your own Bernheim cast strength at Heaven Hill, and I liked it a lot. This seems super young. Part 2 to this. Man, bummed out. I know you didn't like it, but I was hoping for more since I liked the Bernheim 7 from the bottle your own. I killed a bottle of it. Bummer. It seems they're bottling younger stuff here. Thank you for saying that, okay? Because I had some comments saying, like, you know, you need to... Oh, it's hot. Oh, it tastes hot and young. You just need to give it a few weeks of air. No. Okay. I'm going to go on a soapbox here a little bit. I think after having tasted so much whiskey, you start to develop an idea in your head, and it kind of changes distillery to distillery, 100%. But you start to develop an idea in your head of how whiskeys are going to change with air. And my experience with Heaven Hill is that the whiskeys aren't changing that much with air. You know, like Larceny barrel proofs, a little ethanol rolls off, I think. And the profile might get a little fuller, maybe. You could convince me. But typically, I'm not seeing drastic improvement with air. One exception to that could be some toasted products, right? Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel with air, much better. That first run they did, the very first release of that in 2020, I want to say, that thing needed air. We all, I think on YouTube, like at least of the people whose channels I watch and associate with, I would say we all tended to agree with the fact that it needed air because it was in a toasted barrel. But the regular stuff, I think what you see is what you get a lot of the time. And when you go to other distilleries, that's different. But I think after having tasted, I'm looking right now at every Elijah Craig barrel proof release back to 2016 and Larceny barrel proofs, it's like, that Bernheim is not going to be the magic bottle that gets better after a few weeks of air. I'm sorry, like it's young whiskey, 7 to 9 years especially for a wheat whiskey, and it's not the highest quality. It's not the best blending and or the best barrels. We don't know what the process is like. It's just not there. It's just not good. And a lot of people that have gone and done the bottle your own are saying you're full of it, but they haven't tasted the A223 yet. Taste the A223 and come back to me. That's the way I feel about it. Because it ain't it. I'll tell you that. I'll taste it again. I'll taste it tonight, maybe at the end of the stream or something. It's not. It's not good. I think I'm not going to hesitate to sample it out, though. Even in like 8 to 10 sample packs that people went on Patreon or whatever. Like I'll put it in a sample pack because I think people should taste it. And say it like that's a money saver. You taste it and you go, I don't need to hunt this. All right, I'm going to get through the chat, guys. Keith Thompson, my first Scotch was Oban 14, still struggled. Though it wasn't bad, I just wouldn't choose it over bourbon. I think even for me, I tend to go bourbon a lot these days, you know? Dave and CL says, thanks to the Drums and Drams chat group for the recommendations. Hard to get a straight answer sometimes. It's hard to give a straight answer sometimes, you know, just because it is so variable. Everybody's different, but I appreciate that, Dave. Thanks for saying that. All right, so now let's say we're 6 to 8 drops of water into this Farkless 105. Wow. Yeah. So it's starting to pull together a lot of those notes I talked about a second ago. One thing that it's unlocked is closer to the Glenfarclas 10. That shortbread, white cake, vanilla, those types of notes, much more present now. But there's something in here that kind of reads like espresso, and I like that, and I was not getting it at cask strength. Yeah. Somewhere between espresso, dark chocolate, and rubber. That kind of dark, gritty, slightly bitter. Nice. And now tons and tons of like that green apple peel, that sour green apple peel thing. Again, slightly bitter. Yeah, I like this. I like the 105 so much better with a little bit of water, so I'm going to go to the palate now. Still hot. It's still hot. Oh, but the finish goes on for days. Very sour. So that's one thing I'm starting to notice across the board about Glenfarclas. Sour, tangy. And with that comes a little bit of a dry feeling on the palate as it kind of winds back. Wow. Let's do one more round of this quickly with just one more cap of water. Not a full cap by any means. Jeez. Of course, I pour a full cap. Okay. We don't need to feature the Kroger water in the shot. All right, we got 87 folks in the chat. Thank you guys for being here so much. Let's do the quick rundown. I know, because we have probably 20 new people in here since I last said this. Number one, if you like what you're seeing, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed and you're here, thank you for being here. That's awesome that you found the channel. Please consider hitting that subscribe button if you do enjoy the live stream or any of the content that I'm putting out. It really, again, these are both free ways. Like and subscribe to help the channel. And finally, the giveaway tonight you see scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Every $5 super chat or direct Venmo, PayPal, which you can find that information in the description of the video. Every $5 is one entry into tonight's randomized giveaway. Amy Bohm in the live chat. I pointed over here like you guys know that I'm seeing the live chat over here on my screen. Yeah. All right. Amy Bohm is tracking tracking the giveaways in the live chat this evening, and then I'll share my screen at the end so you can see fully transparent. Run the randomizer 7 times. As always, lucky number 7. Top 2 winners are going to win a sample pack Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery Series 1 through 9. All of them a sample pack 1 through 8, 1 ounce. And number 9, which I'm about to review in just a second here, you're going to get a 100 milliliter flask, which is basically a little over 3 ounces. So you can do a comparison to all of those on your own time and have fun with that. Sugar Kitty says yes for Glencaddam pronunciation. Raining PC says I understand Scotch needs age. It's not for everybody, but I think it just takes a little patience, and it takes a resource of somebody that has a lot of Scotch for you to try. Wow. I think the sweet spot of that 105 is somewhere between the first water I put in it and the second water. This is still really good. It's so much of a fuller, richer profile. The finish suffers a bit as a result of the extra water. Oh. Wow. The sherry casks are really starting to shine through, like fig notes, Christmas cake, those kinds of things. That's starting to come into play as this thing reduces in proof. Very good. So, I used to not be a fan of the 105. What I didn't realize is that it really took a little bit of effort to play with this. And that's great, because at cast strength, you get a lot of whiskey to play with. As you start reducing it, you can make yourself a glass and a half out of a glass with a little water in the mix. All right, so let's be done with that. Let's move on to some Bardstown Discovery. But thank you guys for checking out the Scotch portion of the stream. Again, I said I wanted to get back into Scotch. Let's use tonight as a springboard, I've been teasing it here and there, doing a little on Patreon, little on these streams, kind of later in the streams. It's nice to open up with some Scotch for a change. So let me put these just on the table over here, reset a bit, and we'll get to the Bardstown. And please don't mind the pajama pants. I'm just trying to be comfy. I'm trying to be comfy on the stream, Man, transition time. We lost 3 viewers. That's okay. It happens. Amy got a couple of Venmos here. I've got 2 entries from Daniel Patterson. Daniel P. in the chat. Thank you. Cheers, man. Not in the giveaway, though. I have all the discoveries. Man, I appreciate that. Thank you, Daniel. And Philip Cole. Philip Cole, which I would imagine is that Reigning PC in the chat? Please confirm for me, Philip. Oh, wow, I'm so behind on the live chat, guys. I'm going to catch up here in just a second. Hang on. I didn't realize how far behind I was. I thought I was at the bottom of the chat. I guess it wasn't scrolling. Oh, geez. I'll get this set up here. So Reigning PC for Scotch AG. And then Daniel P is in for 2, Amy. All right. We're going to go in order, left to right. 6, 7, and 9 for the discoveries. Okay? But actually, you know what? Let's just start with 9. What am I doing? Let's just start with 9. The new one, newest, new to me. Some people got this Discovery 9 months ago. I guess it just hasn't hit Ohio for the last 4 months. It's kind of a sad thing. Discovery 8 is sitting on shelves in Ohio. After Discovery 3, those things started disappearing. The junkies called it their whiskey of the year. People freaked out. They rushed out to buy it. I remember when 3 was just by the case on the shelf. And I wish I would have went and bought a case looking back, because it was so good. Okay. So that is Reigning PC. Okay, cool. So Daniel, I got you in for 2, and Scott and Reigning PC. So Scott, let me get your super chat here. Says, love me some Bardstown. Let's see if I love this Bardstown Discovery 9. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate the super chat and the support, man. And we got you in there. Toshi says they're joggers. Yeah, they're like listen, you know what these are? These are like I think they're Hanes, but they're from Walmart. I found them at a Walmart, and they're the comfiest pajama pants ever. And I went out, and this is how it works with me and anything that I like clothing-wise or that's comfy, just any of these things. I get them right when they're being discontinued, and then that's it. So I went and bought the rest of these off the shelf. It's I think it was Sarah wore them one night, and she was like, those are so comfy. I need to have those too. So now we have 4 universal pair of these pajama pants that we, that get shared back and forth, although she's kind of stopped wearing them. But it's funny. I had to go out and buy the rest of them because there were no more to be found. Marcelo Miranda says, hey, this guy's Mr. McDreamy 2023. I don't know about that, but hopefully Matt Madness champion 2023. Christopher David says the Glencairn 25 is outstanding. I don't know what any of them taste like, but I would imagine the 25 would be outstanding. Look at Amy doing the math here. 3.3 ounces on the 100 mils. So that is the giveaway for this evening. It's Discovery 9 time. Sugar Kitty says, bunch of things mentioned tonight you never had. Send you a Boona 12 cask, Glencairn 10, Kilchoman Mahir Bay. I don't know how to say that. Mahir Bay. And Loch Lomond 18. If you're sure, I would totally. I always feel guilty accepting samples. I feel very weird about it. But if those are things that you have and you'd like to send, that would be awesome. Just if you wouldn't mind shooting me an email, just so I don't forget. It's hard to keep track of things during these streams. All right, I'm catching up on the chat, scrolling up a bit. So Toshi says, oh yeah, I'm not buying the bottle after tasting it. So thank you for saving me some money there. If it was like the bottle your own at Heaven Hill, I would have bought a case. Man, I wonder how that one was then. Jeez. All right. Nancy says, love those Christmas cake and dark dried fruit notes that come with single malt that's matured in sherry cask. I know. Nancy, I love sherry bombs. I think there's a limit to sherry bombs. I have a single cask 19-year Glendronach. I'll just grab it. So this let's get the close cam working here. Close cam trademark. What's going on here? Oh, look at that. I don't know if these guys are watching, but I just got a picture from the timpanist of the Columbus Symphony, my friend Ben, and Lee Hink. Well, I'll just say Lee. I guess I shouldn't say last names, live on the internet. But Ben and Lee, who is playing with us this week in the orchestra, they have a bottle of let me put this up here. Here. Let's see if I can do this way. Yeah, that'll focus, kinda. These guys are drinking a little Sagamore rye, hanging out. I don't know if they're watching, but they just sent me this picture, so I would imagine maybe they're watching. If you guys are, that's awesome. So anyways, here's this Glendronach 1995 19-year Oloroso sherry butt. And you can just see the color on this thing. And it truly is as dark as it looks on camera. And I think this is a fantastic single malt. But I would say it's probably a little overdone. It looks like motor oil. I'm going to text him back. There we go. Had to say cheers to those guys. Very cool. But yeah, this is about the limit for sherry bombs. And so Nancy, when you said that you love those dark Christmas cake, dry dark fruit notes, I think that the answer to that is somewhere between something like this, which is it's a cool single cask, but maybe we should blend in some second fill to balance this thing out or something along those lines. Airy D. I'm going to still call you Airy. Airy D says, what's up, Cam? What is up? Cheers, man. James Morgan, there's a bargain in the UK for a Glenfarclas gift pack, a 15-year 700, plus a 25-year sample 100 ml, and a 105 cask 100 ml for the same as the new retail of one bottle of 15. That's awesome. That 25, if there's a Scotch that could be maybe my everyday Scotch. And when I say that, like if I had one Scotch left to drink for the rest of my life, it's either going to be something from Springbank, maybe a Springbank 12 cask, or Glendronach 18, like an old school Glendronach 18. Those are like if I had one whiskey left or one Scotch left. If it was an everyday that's not going to be offensive at any point, it's just but you could go for something crazy. Considering it's an everyday, I would say Glenfarclas 25. I just love that whiskey. I think it's so good. Cohen says, want to try. Is this that you want to try it, or are you asking if I want to try it? The new Green Spot and Quail's Gate Pinot from BC, Canada. I don't know anything about that. Clay, good night. All heading out in the AM to Greensboro to watch UK hopefully win their first NCAA tournament game in 4 freaking years. Awesome. That sounds like a fun trip. So cheers to that. Cheers to that. I'll have a sip of this Disco 9. Get this going on the palate, then we'll come back to the nose and do a review for it. Oh, wow. The whole crew is drinking whiskey. I'm getting pictures right now, guys. That's awesome. Sorry, here I am just texting live on stream. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Amy, I'm not sure if this came through. There's a few more super chats. I think maybe just one. From William Molnar. 20 in there. So that should be 4 entries for William Molnar. Is that Wilmo in the chat? I would imagine so, right? I think that's what I'm reading right now on the document. Oh, there's one that came through here. Awesome. Cam, what do you think about... So there's the 5. Cam, what do you think about the Middle West double cask sherry finished, also in on V for 4? So... And do you like William or Will? I just got to know. I would say Will, right? If your thing is Wilmo 18. You let me know. Let me know what you prefer. But Makir. Okay, Makir Bay, says Sugar Kitty. I'm trying to get all my pronunciations right, as you guys can see. What do you think about the Middle West double cast sherry finished? I think the one that I had, the single barrel that I had, which was a pick, was way over finished. So all these people, like I think Dusty Dan maybe had it as like a whiskey of the year type contender or winner. I wouldn't even put it close to that, but I also had a single barrel pick. So that's really hard for me to... Yeah, I don't know. That's hard for me to tell. Lido in for 4. Truly enjoyed the love for Glenfarclas. If it's not too much trouble, I'd like to give my entries to the person that mentioned who's starting his bourbon journey. Did somebody mention bourbon journey? I thought I remember seeing Scotch journey. Maybe. Amy, can you research this a bit? Or should I scroll back? I think I have access to the entire chat right now in StreamYard, so I could scroll back and check it. But Lito, we'll make that happen. Dude, thank you for $20 super chat. I appreciate you so much. Lito is an OG. John, that's good. Yeah, Toshi says no doxing coworkers. Yeah, I know. Try to avoid that. Nancy, maybe I shouldn't say this. Uh-oh, Nancy. You have time to turn back, except you don't. It's on screen now. But I much prefer malt that has matured in sherry much more than bourbon or rye whiskey that is finished in this cat. Oh, 100%. It's just that sherry works better with single malt. I mean, it just does. I think American whiskey, if I'm being honest with you, the only thing it should be finished in, and I promise, Nancy, I'm not sucking up to you, is Armagnac. Or cognac, you know? But, like, in particular with Armagnac, I think it needs to be aged whiskey that goes into those casks. Anytime I have a young Armagnac finished product, and Nancy, actually, you know what, Nancy? Would you come on a live stream soon? I know you're really busy. But I have some stuff I would love to talk to you about. I would love to get into the nitty gritty. Like last time we did kind of some backstory stuff from you. We got into some totally disparate things. Your Israeli whiskey project that you're doing. What was the other one? The Indian single malt, right? You had an Indian single malt that you were blending. Obviously, we got into some Magnus stuff. I would love to dive in to some more specific blending things. And also have some questions about the J. Henry & Sons. I have the 22 anniversary release, the 22 La Flamme, and I was comparing those, and I would love to talk to you about that on a stream sometime. So, you know, no pressure, and also, I know how busy you are. So, Paul says, you better try the Sagamore Sherry finish before you make that claim. Paul, you're right, because I have not tried that. And that could be the one to change my mind. Shauna says it was Travis Jewell that was starting his journey. Interesting. Travis. Amy says, I'm thinking, hey, Lito, could you clarify that for us? Were you thinking about the Scotch person or the bourbon person? I think probably Scotch if it was Lito, but I don't know. All right. It's been long enough, guys. Let's get into Discovery 9. Let me show you what the blend is comprised of. Here we go. Let's get this as close as I can. I might even hold this out. I just really want to make sure this focuses. Oh, jeez. Trying to balance this. All right. So you can see on the screen here, and if you can't see if you're on your phone or something, the majority of this blend is 35% Georgia 8-year. So that's interesting. Georgia makes up most of this blend. And that's a 4-grain mash. It is 80 corn. So heavy corn, 10 wheat, 5 rye, 5 malted barley. 31% of this is from Kentucky, 12-year, with the mash bill of either Wild Turkey or Jim Beam. That's a third of the blend, basically, and a third with that Georgia 8-year. Then we have 1/5 of the blend, or 19%, is George Dickel 17. And lastly, 15%, just under 1/6 of the blend, a 12-year, 100% corn whiskey from Ontario. All right. So this is interesting in the fact that we're including that craft whiskey. You guys have probably already seen reviews on this Discovery. Proof coming in at 112.5 or 56.25% ABV. And it is considered a blended whiskey because of that Ontario corn whiskey in there, which must not be a bourbon, right? It would be probably aged in used cooperage, therefore cannot qualify as a bourbon, and it's made out of the United States, so it's got to be a blended whiskey and not a blended bourbon whiskey. All right, so what's the big red flag on this bottle of Discovery 9? It's the George Dickel, right? We're all going to think that the minerality is going to come through. Let's get this Glendronach off to the side. That Flintstone vitamin minerality, bottom of a freaking boot, leather kind of harshness from the George Dickel. We might all assume that that's going to come through. That is the red flag. That's what I'm kind of on the lookout for as I nose this whiskey. This is, again, 112.5, so a little lower proof. And I'm going to say right away that this whiskey smells incredible. Like, lights out, in my opinion. Discovery 9 on the nose, first impression, lights out. Like, if you wanted to find an element of that George Dickel in here, if you're a Dickel bloodhound and you don't like it, if it's a Dickel at all, no Dickel at all costs, I still think you're going to have a hard time picking it out. And if you do, it's blended. This is blended perfectly on the nose. I don't know about the palate, but I know about the nose. It's so fruity. It's maraschino cherry and sweet orange. It's not like big tangy sour orange. It's like a sweet candied orange and maraschino cherry nose. Oh my God. Has anybody in the chat had this Discovery 9? Big Country Briar says, you love the Dickel. I actually know that I don't love it. I've been known to pick it out of bottles that lie about saying that it's not Dickel, which is the rare hair from Playboy Spirits. God. Nancy says, Cameron, yes, I'd love to do another episode, maybe with the Israeli and Indian single malt whiskeys I've worked on over the past few years. Yeah, I remember you. So what you gave to me, Nancy, I actually passed along. I saved about half of those sample bottles from the, you'd have to remind me the name of the Israeli whiskey, Ruach, I want to say. And then Rampur. Was it Rampur that you were blending for the Indian single malt? I can't remember. Apologize. You gave me some barrel samples of one of them, and then a finished blend of the other. But I passed all of those along to a friend who I thought, the person that I know who would maybe most appreciate going through that and really, dig in and have a good time with it. Frank. So Frank, I don't know if you're watching right now, but I thought it'd be a cool thing for him to check out because I had a lot of fun on that stream going through those whiskeys with you. But yeah, you did send me some of the Israeli and Indian stuff, but if you want to go in more detail, maybe talk a little J. Henry and Sons and specific techniques and things, I would love to get into that with you. I'll have to send you an email and Travis Jewell says it was me at the beginning. Okay, so we got Travis Jewell in there. So yeah, Nancy, I'll reach out. So James is drinking number 9 now. Nick has not had it, but plans to pick it up this weekend in Kentucky. Amy's having some Disco 9 now. Do not detect the Dickel, so they did a great job hiding. Blending that. Yeah, okay, this is Shauna. Who said it? It wasn't Shauna. It was... Well, Shauna is sipping Disco 9. Okay. Awesome. So Paul says the Dickel adds to the blend. That was the next thing out of my mouth, Paul, so thank you for saying that. I promise I'm not copying you. The George Dickel, aged George Dickel, especially when you get to Blue Note 17, which to me is like the best version of 17-year Dickel, there's a big orange note, and I think that's where that's coming from in this blend, but they've blended out that mineral texture on the nose. And I know I often talk about texture on the nose, and a lot of people think I've gotten some comments, I guess, and questions from people about talking about texture on the nose. I think it's a thing. I really do. I think you can detect texture on the nose. I've actually heard some people refer to not only mouthfeel, but also nose feel. And again, that seems silly and nonsensical, but I don't think so. Yeah, Patrick, Discovery is now up to 140 SRP. All right, so besides all of these crazy fruit notes, there's a beautiful toastiness in here. That could be coming from a lot of things. And the one bourbon I'm not familiar with in this blend is that Georgia 8-year, which I think is coming from, not 45th Parallel. That's who distills in Wisconsin, I want to say. Which one? What are they called? Old Fourth? Is it Old Fourth that... I looked this up the other day. I figured out where that Georgia whiskey was coming from in the blend. Georgia Distillery. 13th. It wasn't 13th Colony. I actually looked this up, and it was a company that I believe closed. They had a mash bill very similar to this, but it wasn't the exact one, but it was that 80% corn. So, Ben, you are watching. I just got another text. That's awesome. Matt, Ivy Mountain. That is not what I remember, but Matt, I'm going to take your word for it. Cohen says, Dickel Orange tastes like children's cough syrup. Okay. Anyways, I got to get this on the palate. There's a nice toastiness going on in here. Vanilla sweetness, as you might expect. I almost said Dickel 9. Well, there was some controversy around that recently. If you know, you know. I think Discovery 9 is very, very, very good on the nose. Man. There's very little you could do to make that whiskey better in the style that it is. So this is not a Heaven Hill product that is like classic bourbon, caramel chocolate, vanilla, that as it ages gets a really sweet oak component and also gets more an oaky, more leather notes on the bottom end. That's like traditional bourbon to me. Heaven Hill, quintessential in that category. To me, this is more on the fruity side. And so when you have that, you might not have as much leather, oak, and depth to the pour because you're going for something a little brighter, fresher, effervescent, fruity. And so when you have a whiskey like that, you don't expect it to be as dense and perhaps layered in the same way that classic bourbon profile gets after, let's use Heaven Hill 17 as an example. This one is a little bit on the fresher side in terms of a fresh, fruity whiskey, which is rounded out by a little toastiness, a little bit of toasted bread, Nutella on bread type thing on the bottom end of things. You can't really do this much better. This is, in my opinion, almost a perfect blend in a lot of ways. I think any argument to this whiskey not being great is not going to come from an objective point of view of somebody evaluating this on how it goes from the front of the palate to the back. They would just be arguing on tasting notes, I think, because in terms of how this whiskey drinks, it is a perfect representation of the Discovery line. And a perfect representation of a whiskey that comes from Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Ontario. That's crazy. That's crazy that they achieved this. Oh, Matt says 100%. It's the Doc Holiday. I was thinking of the name Doc Holiday, not the actual distillery. Thank you, Matt. Guys, in my opinion, and I'm gonna, you know what? I got to do the comparisons. It took me this long to get there. I'm sorry. Jeez, I'm just, I'm just talking. I'm just saying too many words. We've got to do Discovery 6 and 7 and a very quick comparison round before we get to the... God, we're an hour and 15 in. I said I was going to do a short stream. I'm going to do this comparison in under 8 minutes. I'm committing right now. And I have a timer on my screen counting down how long I'm on stream. So I'm under 8 minutes. We got to do this timer. You know what I think about Discovery 9. When this hits Ohio, I'm buying 2 more. 2 backups. No joke. And I've got to... I would like to give one of these away on a future stream. I mean, it's that good. Oh, my goodness. And the giveaway winners tonight, I promise I'm not just hyping this up because we're doing a giveaway. You know that I don't do that. The giveaway winners tonight each get 100 mils of this and 1 ounce of the previous 8 expressions in the Discovery line. And this is what remains of my Discovery 4, so we're almost going to bottle kill this from the giveaway. Okay. Let me just check the old Venmo very quickly. All right. Looks like we're good. Let me catch up on a few super chats I missed in the chat. Sorry, guys. Shauna says, got to throw my hat in the ring. And for 2, thank you, Shauna. I appreciate the support and you jumping in there. And Amy's already got you guys. Amy's on the ball. Only because Shauna did, says William. Hey, someone's going to say only because William did. Let's get the chain going. I'm just kidding. Scotch for Dummies. I saw that we had a little fall off of a couple viewers. Scotch for Dummies doing an Irish whiskey stream at the top of the hour, and so is Bourbon Bites. Yeah. And guys, if you do jump back and forth or just head over to another stream, whether or not you entered the giveaway, if you did, come check back after the fact. Send me an email if you do win. But if you jump between or go over there, I just want to say thank you for being with us tonight for any amount of time. Go support those other creators. There's so many WhiskeyTube channels at this point just to go out and support. I just appreciate you being here for any amount of time. So cheers to that. Amy says, twist my arm, it's fine. Cheers to you all, Kip. Thank you, Amy. The tracker of the super chats gets in herself with 4 entries. Thanks, Amy. All right. So real quick, I have... Oh. Let me know if my internet connection goes down, guys. I just had a warning about my internet connection, which is strange because I'm hardwired in. Let me see if it's raining outside. It is raining. I don't know if there's like a storm coming through or something. So let me know if the connection gets bad. If I do lose the stream, I will jump back on. It'll be under a different video, so just keep an eye out for that. Contingency plan. Minor blip, says Nick. All good. Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting that warning. Anyways, the discovery that this most reminds me of actually is Discovery 6. Ironically, I don't know why. So here's 9 over here on your right, and on your left is 6. Oh yeah, 6 is a cheap imitation of 9. That's the way I would put it. It smells related, and in the blend that we have this nearly the same amount of George Dickel in there. We actually have some 7-year MGP, but the majority is 11-year Kentucky 75 13 12, which is either Beam or Wild Turkey. It doesn't even compare or begin to compare, in my opinion, to Discovery 9. Wow, and Discovery 6 is a solid whiskey. I mean, don't get me wrong. On the nose, it felt muted. It felt, even as muted as it felt, it was still sharper in the ethanol category than Discovery 9, which is just full flavored, even though it's 112.5, and Discovery 6 is, a little lower, 111.1. Makes sense. It's just... There's no more ethanol on the higher proof because it's so full-bodied. oh, it's so good. All right, last but not least, I think I have 3 minutes left for my 8 minutes. Yeah. Discovery 7, which is a much more complicated blend. We're not even going to go into that blend. That's a lot. Some Heaven Hill in there. That same 12-year either Turkey or Beam in there. Ontario, Indiana, Tennessee, the whole bit. And this was this whiskey Discovery 7 for me was always a little bit bright, a little bit more of a walking into a candy shop. You smell the vanilla in the air. You smell the cheap, sugary, confectionery thing in the air. That's Discovery 7 to me, and that's got to be coming from the light whiskey or the corn whiskey from Ontario. 21% in the blend. It just overtakes the blend, in my opinion. There's actually, yeah, this one's 15. Discovery 9's 15%. That's 21. If 6% makes that much of a difference for making this feel almost like a light whiskey on the nose, that's pretty wild. So definitely not my favorite already. It's candy shop and green apple. That's really what this is. Palate, strawberry candies. I'm remembering this now. It's coming back to me. Discovery 9 easy the winner with 2 minutes to spare. 6 minutes for those comparisons. So for those of you who do win the giveaway tonight, I would encourage you to do this particular comparison. Some of the 9 that you get from that 100 milliliter flask, and the 6 and 7, do those side by side. I think you will find the relationship between them, but you'll see that 9 is just better. Save 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 for different comparisons, because those in the Discovery series are excellent. And then maybe put 5 and 8 together. Speaking of Discovery 8, very quickly, somebody in the chat mentioned Paul Grace. Curious, did you get Discovery 8? It's glorious with the stave finishing. So Paul, I felt that the Discovery 8, because of the stave finishing, was very closed off at first and overly spicy. The 6 months since I got it, it's improved quite a bit. The air has helped that thing out a lot, and my bottle is probably less than halfway full. So I think it's gotten better, but I just think they overdid the stave finishing on that one. That's my opinion. I'm not the biggest toasted bourbon fan or stave finished bourbon fan, so take that with a grain of salt. If you like it, that's awesome, and if you need one, let me know. I'll ship it to you at cost. We have them all over Ohio, so you just let me know if you need another one. Amy says, is the Canadian in the mix light whiskey? The 9 hits me like an Obtainium or similar. There is some in the mix, but to me, it has enough of a body and a depth to it that I'm not put off by it. Whereas the Discovery 7 to me is it just feels like a light whiskey. UM Big 11 says Discovery 8 is still my favorite, and to each their own. I know why people like it. It's totally a subjective thing for me. I think the whiskey in and of itself is well done. More generally, I think it's well done. For me, just as the consumer, subjective, biased, whatever, I just don't like that style. I'm not the biggest fan, so I have to try to separate those things. Roy says, did someone say Scotch? You missed it, Roy, but yes, we were doing a little Scotch. Nancy Fraley coming in with some industry knowledge here. Yes, even 6% can make a difference. Even something as low as 0.2 to 0.5% of a very aromatically intense component can completely overpower a whiskey. And I'm going to trust Nancy on that. Daniel P. says, give my 2 entries to Amy. She's always helping out. Man, Daniel, thank you, dude. That's awesome. Daniel P. for Amy. There it is. Yeah. Thanks, Daniel. Hal Jarvis says, how do you rate the 9 different discoveries? Without doing all 9 of them. Let me go grab all 9. I'm just kidding. If I had to do that off the top of my head, 3. Do you put 9 in second? Look, I'm a sucker for Discovery 3. That's going to be my top, unless I do a side-by-side. But I'm going to say 3. Man. Let's just, for now, I could always change it later. 3, 9, 4, 1, 2. 3, 9, 4, 1, 2. There's 9 of them. 6. 8. No, I'm going to put 8 over 6. 3, 9, 4, 1, 2, 8, 6, 7, 5, and last. 5's an easy last. Those are my rankings of the discoveries. One day, maybe I could do once we get to 12 discoveries, then I can make a little bracket out of it. Alrighty. Give me just a second. Why not? No, I'm not going to blend them. I'm going to keep that 9 on the table. That's good. And last but not least, that doesn't mean we're going to be done soon, unfortunately. Last but not least, we have a blind flight to do. So for anybody that was like, hey, I'm going to tune in for the blind flight. Yeah, it took an hour and a half, and I'm sorry. I usually try to do if I have a 3-part stream, I try to do the blind flight in the middle. You know, you get 45 minutes in, you start a blind flight, you're done by an hour and a half in. You do a couple wrap-up pours at the end. But I was like, tonight, with the encouragement of some people in the live chat, let's start with the scotches. And that actually worked out. So, anyways, let's get to this blind flight. We have 5 of them. Yeah. Small sips. Small sips. We're changing the stage over. Little transition here. So if you couldn't tell, Discovery 9, highly, highly recommend. $140. Pay it. Don't pay a dime over $140. I really don't think any of the Discovery series are worth secondary prices. I'll pay more for Discovery 3 because it's long gone, and it's just my favorite. I love it. And I guess, if I would say that I would pay more than SRP for Discovery 4, I rated, off the top of my head right now, 9 over 4. So maybe I would pay a little more for 9, actually. I don't know. But they're putting out so much of this these days that there's no scarcity. And without scarcity, a jacked up price doesn't make any sense. Roy says, this is my exit. No, Roy, stick around. Come on, man. Just glad I didn't ruin any blinds for you, bro. We'll watch replay later. Hope it's that Roy threw some spoilers into the blind flight the other day, so that's okay, Roy. No, if you got to go, man, get out of here. It's good to see your name pop up in the chat. Paul Grace, you just convinced me to order a Discovery 9 backup. Thanks for your thoughtful tasting notes. I hope I didn't steer you wrong, Paul. Don't hold me accountable for your $140 plus tax, but I really do enjoy this stuff. C. Keller asks, how do you know or think it's made up of Beam and Dickel? By the mash bill? Yes. So the Dickel mash bill, 86, 8, and 8. Let me be sure here. No, 84, 8, 8. Math, So 84% corn, 8 rye, and 8 malted barley. That is George Dickel. If it says it's from Tennessee and it has that mash bill, nobody else does that mash bill. The Kentucky 12-year or 11-year, it's been fluctuating or aging over the years, that Bardstown Bourbon Company has 75 corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. That is either Turkey or Jim Beam. So just knowing those companies' mash bills, you can narrow it down. I guess another Kentucky distillery could have that, but to have enough 12-year bourbon in stock in your warehouse to sell off to a blender, probably in a decent quantity, you're going to be looking at a big legacy distillery in Kentucky like a Turkey or a Beam. Okay. Scott Van Canel, or Van Canel. Scott Van Canel says, worth it. Thanks for the super chat, Scott. I don't know if the super chat's worth it or the Discovery 9 or something else, but all of those things are worth it. So thank you, Scott. Thanks for jumping into the giveaway for tonight. And UM Big 11, I don't know if I think I got this. Yeah, Disco 8's still my favorite. I think I pulled that up. I remember saying to each their own. Okay, blind flight time. So very quickly, as we get into tonight's blind flight, Rebecca, I don't know if you guys are still watching. Ben, Rebecca, Lee. I don't know if you guys are still watching, but that's awesome. She says, we love your show, Karen. Thanks, Rebecca. While I'm distracted, let me pull this up. I just started watching your channel not that long ago. It says Benji Penji FPV. Surely I'm not the first to mention this, but has anyone said you look like, I can't read, good Lord. You look like Jonah from Superstore. My wife says, I'm distracted. I'm reading text. I'm reading the live chat. My wife watched Superstore for a while, I think. If it's the show that I'm thinking of, let me Google this. Yes, she watched this. Let me look at who Jonah is. Ben Feldman. Jonah. Let me pull this up. I have not heard that. I've heard, the guy that's in the show You? Y-O-U? I only say that because I don't watch the show. The show You. What is that guy's name? Penn Badgley? Is that it? Penn Badgley? That sounds like that's what I want to say, but that's also a very specific name if I'm wrong to get that wrong with. Anyways, the lead actor in You, I've gotten that sometimes. And then Matt Porter says J.J. Reddick, although I'm definitely not as tall or as rich or famous. None of those things can I achieve. Have I achieved? Can I achieve them? I don't know. I have no idea. All right, blind flight time. So let me show you how this works for all of you who might be new here. I have a close cam, TM, trademark, close cam on this test card, and this is just to get the camera's focus. And what I'll do is I'll pull this up on the screen, and I'll turn my head, and all of these glasses of these 5 are on note cards. And all those note cards, Sarah has poured a pour of whiskey, could be bourbon, Scotch, Irish, whatever, of the 400-plus bottles in the house. And I put headphones on. I cover my ears. Actually, today I was in the shower listening. I had music blaring and the shower on and the door shut so she can go between the basement and upstairs choosing whiskeys for this flight. And these have the answers to them on there, and I will show you as we go, and I will turn my head like this, show you the whiskey here. You can see that I'm not cheating. I'm not looking at the screen. And please, please, please do not put any spoilers in the chat. Not only just saying like, hey, this is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, but even if I show you a pour and you say, I almost bought that bottle last week, don't say anything about the bottles or about a bottle related to it or about the opposite bottle of it. Just let it go. Because no cheating for you, for me, for anyone. Let's be totally cool about this. Because sometimes we get these spoilers and it's like, oh my God, I can't unsee that, Shauna says, Cam looks like Sebastian Stan, a.k.a. Bucky Barnes. That's the Winter Soldier, I think. I've heard that too. We all have our doppelgangers, Brian Chuba, I've got the Origin Black Label, really good. Would love to try the discos. Great content. Thank you, Brian, and thank you for supporting the channel, getting in on the giveaway tonight. I appreciate that. Yeah, Toshi, there's nothing I can do there except wear very, very tall shoes. Maybe some sort of surgery I could get in another part of the world could help me there, break some bones, regrow some bones, something along those lines. All right, so we've whittled down the table to 2 scotches I haven't tasted. Probably not going to taste those tonight. And a blind flight of 5. Let's get into this now. It is time. And the last step before doing this blind flight is, of course, $20 Amazon pen because I wanted to feel fancy. And the brown notebook. Pleather all the way. Probably. Get the keyboard out of the way here. Got to take a few notes as we go here so that I'm not, wondering about what I was tasting earlier on. What's the date? 3/16. I like to keep track of these blinds. Glass 1. We're going to do glass 1 now. Remember, no spoilers, please. All right. So, you guys can see that you see exactly what I see. I can see the screen in front of me. This card is down. I'm going to turn my head, flip this up. You will see glass 1, and then I'm going to nose and taste it. Here we go. Real quick, put it down. And let me go here. Okay, so I'll turn my head, and then I'll solo this on the screen. So that should be up on the screen by itself right now. So that's in glass 1. Here we go. Put that down. Turn the head back. Boom. All right. So let's get into glass 1 and see what Sarah has poured, or maybe not see because I might get this terribly wrong. The best strategy for these blind flights is to guess stats, not go straight to the bottle, because there's bottles that you don't know. And even though these are all from my own house, I don't even know what's in my basement. There are so many random things down there from the last 4 years. All right. Glass 1, to me, is a decent proof. I'm thinking 110 to 120. It feels like it could be toasted. This is giving me some coffee, some dark chocolate. And when I get those kinds of notes, especially there's like a burnt orange, burnt cherry, these kinds of notes. When you have a burnt quality or an over-toasted bread or a burnt bread, with those coffee, dark chocolate, all of those things have a similarity, which is that there's a bitterness to them with a little bit of sweet, but more towards those bitter notes. Yeah, little rubbery now as I come back to it a second time. So I would say for sure, like just on the note-taking side of things, I would say this is toasted, ? Probably a bourbon. Probably not a rye, although with a toasted on it, you can hide the rye spice a little bit. I would stay bourbon. Very spicy. I'm going to say, yeah, again, between 110 to 120 on the proof. I would stay there. All right, on the palate. Wow. Pretty short finish for what it is. You would expect with that much flavor on the nose, that strong of an aroma, that you might get a longer finish. And if I'm thinking 110 to 120 on the proof, that there might be a longer finish. It's interesting. A little bit of a Sharpie note to that. Again, this is a thing that you get on some toasted bourbons or toasted products, because it could be a rye. A Sharpie note. Similar to the rubber, the dark chocolate, espresso, all of those bitter things. Sharpie plays into that too. You know what I think this might be? All the notes I've mentioned so far, in that finish, I'm getting this what's the word? It's not dull. I'll have to think of the word. Bland and dull come to mind, but those are not the words. This feels like a Michter's toasted barrel rye to me. This feels like a Michter's toasted barrel rye. It could just be Michter's barrel strength rye. So I'll have to figure that out. But my guess, because it feels young, I said it wasn't a rye at first, but the more I think about this, the fact that I'm getting so much off the nose, the aromatics of this, and it's intense, but then the palate falls short. It's almost like the toasted barrel has muted the rye component on the palate. If it is toasted, it really feels toasted. But it feels young. It has that Michter's thing. Coffee is a Michter's note. I'm going to say it's a Michter's product for sure. I'm going to say rye, question mark, toasted, question mark. Proof, 110 to... I'm going to go towards this now. So knowing it's maybe a Michter's product in my head, I'm going to say 110 to 115 on the proof. Age no more than 6 years-ish, maybe before it goes into the toasted barrel. I think that's everything. I think Glass A I'm pretty locked in on. I'll come back to that to determine exactly which bottle I think it is. All right? Jeremy Winters. Jesus, you're handsome. Jeremy, I will take that. I will take that. Thank you, Jeremy. First time here. Paul Grace. I'd love to be in Ohio to get that Old Weller Antique. We're not really getting it that much anymore. I got to be honest. Yeah, DC. What did I say? It was what was I talking about? The finish. I said bland or dull. Muted might be the right word. That might have been the right word. Yeah, there's stale. Stale. That's the word I was. It actually feels stale on the finish. Yeah. It's kind of gross. All right. Glass 2. Let's get into Glass 2, which is a much lighter color. That might be a tell. No idea. Okay. Let me pull this up here so you guys can see. Okay, I'm going to flip it up. 3, 2, 1. So this is in Glass 2. And 3, 2, 1. Okay. This card should be down. I'm always knocking over the test card. Okay. And back to here and move this over. All right. Let's do Glass 2 now. It's like the most low-tech way to show you what's in the glass, but there's really not a better way that I can't see because I'm looking at a giant TV monitor right now that shows me all of this stuff. Oh my God, that smells good. Whoa. That smells very good. I don't have any idea what it could be. Proof feels lower. And one thing I try to do on these blinds is not do comparisons side by side because those can influence you if you've made a bottle guess already. But if that guess is wrong and you start comparing things to a wrong guess, that is not good. So I try to do these individually. Okay, this is smelling worse now that I'm smelling it. It's like peanut butter and freshly cut grass. Yes. I mean, I don't... There's something else in here, but peanut butter and freshly cut grass kind of epitomize this thing. And chili pepper. Or chili powder. That's it. So the spice on here is chili spice. Peanut butter leads me towards like a Heaven Hill product or a Jim Beam product. Ugh. Okay, I don't know why I like that. Maybe just because it was different than Glass 1. Because if that's Michter's barrel strength or toasted rye, I don't like either of those. Okay. Nope, that's not it. A much lower proof. God, that's bad. It's the grassiness. You guys know if you watch the channel, you know I don't like grass notes in bourbon. I don't think it makes any sense. I think it stands out. Toshi says Sarah has great handwriting. I actually told her today, I said, write very large and write legibly on the cards. Oh my God, that is just... Man, I don't know. If this is a whiskey I paid too much money for, I'm going to be very sad. It's starting to come around now a little bit to. It's almost smelling like an MGP. When I thought like freshly cut grass and peanuts, my mind immediately goes to Ezra 99. That whiskey, I reviewed it on the channel a few years ago. My biggest issue was that grassiness, but it's sourced from Heaven Hill, so it was a very peanut-heavy whiskey. It's young. It's a 99 proof. This feels like it could be around that 99 proof. You know, here's a note. Here's a weird one. Bugs. You know, when I was growing up, I grew up in like a suburban neighborhood, that kind of thing. But when it's like evening time, and maybe it's been raining. Yeah. Evening time. Maybe it's been raining. Maybe not. Maybe it's just kind of wet outside. And you go outside and it's real buggy. It just smells like that. Some people are going to say petrichor as that note. It's not quite. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. To me, I have this vivid memory of like just growing up and being outside and it being damp, and this is what the outdoors smelled like. Jeremy Winters, what I'm drinking should not be displayed in this chat. I will show you on the card again here in a second, but please no spoilers. It's a blind flight. Wet cut grass. I mean, yeah, Mike, maybe that's it. Humid grass bugs, says Nick. Yeah, well, look, Brian, I'm not eating bugs. I've never eaten a bug, at least to my knowledge. I've definitely eaten one without my knowledge, I would imagine, in my sleep. Or they say you eat spiders in your sleep, I think. But yeah, I don't know if bugs is an actual tasting note, but maybe in this case. Here, real quick, here's just a recap of what's in glass number 2. Please no spoilers, folks. I need to get the focus on the test card here. Okay. Get the camera going, and I'm gonna knock this over. Don't knock it over. Okay. And turn my head. So there is what is in glass 2. I'll solo it on the screen. I got to get my cursor over that before I turn my head. Okay. Cool. So in terms of, this has got to be a Jim Beam product. In my opinion, this has to be a Jim Beam product. For a second, I was like, oh, it's kind of going MGP. No, first impressions always on these. It's feeling like around 95 proof. I'll say it's a Beam. I would say no more. I mean, this is like, to me, 4 years old. This is not an old bourbon. And that's another giveaway. I'm going to say it's a bourbon. What are the other things I like to answer on these guesses? Is it finished? No, I don't think it has a finishing cask. The first one I'm going to say the first one toasted maybe. We already said that. What's the mash bill of this? Well, I mean, that's going to go along with me guessing it's a Jim Beam. All right, let's go to glass C or glass 3, whichever way you want to look at it. Okay. So let's get into this. I'm trying to move through this blind flight pretty quickly. I'm doing my best. All right. Let me know if this doesn't focus. I don't have the test card because this is where the test card was on this glass. Okay, pull this up. Turn my head. Flip it up. And this should be soloed on the screen now. Let me know if you guys are not seeing this. Oh, I feel like I just slipped or something. What did I do? I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. I'm going to turn my head back. Okay, let's do this one more time. I can't tell what's going on. There we go. All right, so this is glass 3. If you need to see this again, just tell me. Little darker than glass 2. That smells very good. It smells very good. I like that grape. That's very grape forward. Okay, Derek says they say Focus was the. Oh, okay. Joe Groan or Joe Groany? I'm not sure exactly how you say that. I would say Groan, right? Hey man, cheers! And I'm in Frankfort, Kentucky right now. Anything at Bardstown Bourbon Company that's a must-have to Discovery 9. Discovery 9. Go buy 2 Discovery 9s. I'm telling you, it's that good. Have Jeep Wheel Whiskey. What is up? Says Cam, you and Jason C in the finals of Matt Madness. Calling it now. I'm hoping I get to finals again this year. I got to get another belt to be next to this belt. All right, I am determined. I am determined. That's what this blind flight is all about. Training for that competition. Yeah, it would be funny to go drummer versus drummer. I can't remember who Jason is up against in the next round. If it's Grease or if it's who else is on that side? Shook is not on that side of the bracket. Dutch is on that side of the bracket. So if it's Jason versus Dutch, I think Dutch takes it, dude. I don't know who else he's up against. I think, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think in the semifinals this year of the tournament, it's me and Shook. I think he and I on our side of the bracket. I think we go up to the semis. And I think it's the same on the other side. I think Grease and Dutch. And then I think I totally spank Shook. Dan, if you're watching, you know. And on the other side, Dutch versus Grease. I'm going to go Grease. I'm going to go Grease on that. But these are predictions that mean nothing. We all might get knocked out of the quarterfinals. So we'll see. Amy, Grease is deceptively good at this, at blind tasting. He is deceptively good. All right, I really like the nose on glass 3. It's just this beautiful, like, candied grape syrup note. Rebecca points out that there's protein in bugs. That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Rebecca, I've never tasted them, guys. If you're like, what are you talking about? I'm texting my friend Ben, the timpanist of the orchestra. I've never consciously tasted bugs. Maybe unconsciously, but never consciously to recognize the protein in them. If this is not a Buffalo Trace product, I will be very surprised on Glass 3. But what could it be? But what could it be? Toshi, you're totally right, man. And thank you for another $10 super chat. You watch UFC, you don't get a new belt, you get a jewel to add to your belt. Well, there's nowhere on this belt to put a jewel. I mean, not like a placeholder or anything. Tim Tam Slam, any dark horse candidates in Matt Madness? I'd have to look at the bracket again, honestly. This has to be Buffalo Trace. So I'll be honest with you guys. Starting now with Glass 3, I'm taking very small sips tonight. You know, very careful on how much I'm having as we go through all of this stuff. Right now is that turning point where my palate starts to just take a little bit of a dive. So glasses 3, 4, 5, I'm not going to guarantee any results from this point forward. I feel really good about the first 2 glasses. The Michter's rye or toasted rye guess. And the, what did I guess? Some sort of 95 proof Jim Beam bourbon on glass 2. Suppose I didn't make a bottle guess. I don't really have one. I could just say maybe Jim Beam. I don't know, like Devil's Cut or something. It's something that's a little higher proof than the white label. Maybe the single barrel or the Devil's Cut. Keith says, I think Dara and Trenton. I heard Trenton did very, very well in the first round. I didn't tune in for that round, but yeah. Hey, somebody just said that they were in Frankfurt, right? Let me, it was Joe. Let me ask you guys this. I had a friend reach out to me. I mentioned him earlier, Frank. He's going to be in Bardstown this weekend, and he asked me what. Let me see what day. Let me see what day, because this may affect the answer. He says, I'm headed to Bardstown Friday night into Saturday morning. Any recommendations for what I should prioritize first thing in the morning? So do you guys have any answers to that? Because I'm not a Bardstown expert. I've been there a few times, but I don't go out in the mornings and like wait in lines. Should he go to like a Heaven Hill? Or is there ever a line at Lux for the Lux Row 12? Is it like go wait in line at Heaven Hill, see if they have anything? Or do they announce their drops? I think they changed the way they do that recently because of flippers. I told him buy Discovery 9. And now I can totally confirm that. But let me know if you guys have any recommendations that I can pass along to Frank. Joe and Dresden say Heaven Hill. So I'll tell Frank. Or Four Roses. Dresden says be there early. Heaven Hill. Okay. All right, back to glass 3. Yeah, this, sometimes you use different tells on different glasses. And this one, it's a distillery tell. It just smells like Buffalo Trace. It smells like, Eagle Rare or a Buffalo Trace single barrel. It's a little bright. It's a little bright, which either makes me go, it tastes like Mash Bill 1. This could be an E.H. Taylor. I've got them up here. Right? This could be an E.H. Taylor single barrel or small batch. Man, that's tough. I got to go off the stats, not off the bottle guess. I told myself that at the beginning. I'm going to go E.H. Taylor. If it's small batch or single barrel, I'm not going to be mad either way if I get it. If I'm one or the other, it would not bother me. I'm going to say because of the distinct grape note, it's a single barrel. Small batch might be a little rougher around the edges. Age on this, there's a little bit of an oak presence on the back. I'm going to say 7 years. I don't know how old those single barrels are, but this is just a general guess. I'm going to say it's a bourbon. It's not finished. Okay. Let's go to glass D. Sorry, that glass C took me a little longer. Okay, let's get this on the screen. Nope, not like that. Like that. Okay. So we're going to go to glass D now, or glass 4, whichever way you want to look at it. See, we got it here over this solo thing. Okay, turn my head. Pull it up. That feels right. Okay, that feels like. Should be soloed now. All right, you see it? 3, 2, 1. Boom. And we'll put this down, and I'll turn my head back. Okay. Great. Let's go to glass 4. Now, glass 4, you should always look at your whiskey in the glass. And some people think like, okay, if it's bright, it's either really watered down, really young, maybe a Scotch, Irish whiskey. It's not just about bright and dark. This is a hazy whiskey. So that means a couple of things. It could be a non-chill filtered whiskey that right now is at a lower temperature. And because of that lower temperature, it's developing that haze in the glass. That would make sense. It could be a finished whiskey that is so finished, and the barrel that it was finished in was still wet, still had, you know, a lot of residual fortified wine, whatever the barrel was, had some residual in there, residual liquid, and has influenced this whiskey and made it cloudy. That happens with, like I have a Muscat Mistel finished Bardstown Bourbon Company from 2017. Totally looks hazy like that. But color and just the visual of the whiskey, and wine, that means a lot. And whiskey, we tend to not look at it so much. We should really look at it. And that smells like barbecue sauce. So that's not what I expected. Thank you, Amy. Guys, you know, we've had 83 in here. We had 100 earlier. Please hit that like button if you would not mind. It would really help the channel so much. Again, we're doing a giveaway tonight. Let me check my Venmo very quickly for any entries. It's just a way for YouTube to not take their 35% cut. But I appreciate you all being here again. And the easiest and cheapest way to support the channel is just to like and subscribe. Have Jeeper Whiskey says, I waited for 3 hours at Heaven Hill and ended up with select stock. Well, that's not a bad consolation prize. I mean, it depends on what the select stock was, but generally those are very excellent. All right, glass 4. It literally smells like a rubber tire. So it does have a, is that a Dusty? Could be a Dusty. Oh, Sarah's still up. I just heard her. She's usually asleep by now. Yeah, this could be a whiskey from a prior decade, actually. It like the rubberiness in it, and it's weird and it's kind of cloudy. Like those all signify that it could be a Dusty. That is a very weird whiskey. I'm tasting a few things. Number one, it's way grainier, like on the palate, than I would have expected. Like I would imagine this whiskey on the nose, this could be 8 to 12 years old. Could be nicely aged. On the palate, it goes toasted cornbread. That's a note that I reserve for a few things. Very good things. George T. Stagg's, Michter's 20. I mean, heavy $1,000 to $5,000 whiskeys. Secondary price. And this has a toasted cornbread note on the nose, and I'm like, well, maybe it's a Dusty. But it also has this, what I call skunkiness to it, that you get a lot of times from a brandy cask finish. Excuse me. So sometimes brandy cask, sometimes port cask can add this, what do you want to call it? Like when I say skunky, I mean dark fruit, like plums, but like over stewed dark fruit where they go bad. They turn bitter. They turn sour. It's, yeah, skunky. It's the only way I can really put it. It also smells like not fabric softener, dryer sheets. It smells kind of like my fresh linen downy dryer sheets. Yeah, I mean, that's scarily accurate, strangely enough. So what's the proof on this? 102? I'm going to say 102. I have no idea what this whiskey is, so I'm going to go stats only on this. Based on what I was saying about the toasted cornbread earlier. Yes, I get it on these very expensive bottles. You also get it on very young bottles, but in a different way. So it's a note that can appear young and also can appear very, very old on whiskeys. In this case, I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to say this is a young whiskey, but God, I don't know if I believe that. That has to have a cognac or an Armagnac finish or some sort of American brandy. I'm going to write this down. Distillery, I have no idea. I just have no idea. And I'll accept that. This is a very confusing whiskey. I think it's a bourbon that's finished. All right, let me check the chat. And I just need to call an age for this. What do I say, man? It's either 6 or 10. It's young or I'm going to go old. I'm going to go 9. All right, glassy, last one. It looks like straw, looks like hay. Light color. Looks like a Scotch or an Irish whiskey. Let's show you what is in glass 5. And then we will do the giveaway drawing at the end of this blind flight, and then we're going to call it a night. I have a rehearsal at 10 a.m. I have a rehearsal in 12 hours. Well, 11 hours and 48 minutes, but who's counting? I am, kind of. All right, so here is this. Let's angle it down. Okay, I'm going to turn my head. I'm going to turn my head now. I'm going to pull it up. This should solo it on the screen. Unless my cursor moved. This should bring it back. Turn my head back and go down. Okay. And that is a Scotch. So, oh, let me put this back here. Okay. This is definitely a Scotch on the nose. Easy peasy on that one. Sorry, I've been kind of out of the chat. I just want to get through the blind flight, guys. Nick says, old, weird, dusty, hazy barbecue rubber tire filled with toasty cornbread and dryer sheets. Buy it now. Well, when you put it that way, Nick. Oh, that's funny. Amy, talking about the giveaways for tonight. Yes, guys, scrolling at the bottom of your screen, you can see the giveaways. 2 winners this evening for a full vertical Bardstown Discovery Series 1 through 9, 1 through 8, 1 ounce, 30 milliliters samples. Discovery 9, which tonight I said is the second best discovery of all time, and that's subjective. It's either number 3, 2, or 1, depending on who you are. I firmly believe that. Discovery 9, you're going to get 100 milliliters of that in sort of a flask. I have these 100 ml flasks. So it's going to be a great way for you to do a comparison of Discovery 9 to the other 8 discoveries, in a couple different tastings at home. Roy N. I'm back, Cam. Are you still doing blinds? Absolutely, Roy. And there's your super chat. OMG. Okay, well, let me get in on the giveaway. By the way, why are people commenting on your looks when they should be amazed at your gustatory prowess? What a phrase, Roy. What a way to... Well, when you put it that way, I've said that twice tonight. Roy N. In for 2. Thank you, Roy. Oh, that's funny. And Amy, we've got one more super chat from Have Jeep Will Whiskey for being awesome. Have Jeep Will Whiskey in for 1 entry, $5 super chat. And thank you for that super chat. And you and Big 11 in with 1 more super chat. Thank you. All right. Glass 5, this Scotch, it has to be a Scotch. Slightly smoky in the background, but very, very honey forward. Interesting. This is in my opinion a Diageo product. Last time that we had one of these, I guessed Dalwhinnie 15. It ended up being an Oban Distillers Edition. This might be a Dalwhinnie 15. Oh, it could be a Clynelish 14. I'm trying to detect, like, is the waxiness there? Clynelish 14 is a waxy product. Beeswax. Not Clynelish. That could be an Oban 14. What else could that be? It could be the Dalwhinnie 15. It's a little peated. It's a little, or not peated, but smoky. It's a little smoky. I would say maybe Oban 14. Proof on this. I'm going to say 46% ABV, 92 proof. Say it, don't spray it, Cam. Garrett Willette in for 2 on the Super Chats. Garrett, thank you for the $10 Super Chat, man. Cheers to you. Man. What is that? It's a little dirty. Like I'm in Glen Scotia land. Possibly, you know? I'm gonna say Oban 14. I really think that. All right, let's do the reveal. Let's do it. Glass 1. Excuse me, got the bourbon belches. I said this was, at first I said, wow, it smells like maple syrup now. This might be a sad moment for me. I said toasted bourbon. Then I said 110 to 120. Then I narrowed that down, 110 to 115. I'm going to say this is a 115 proofer. 6 years. I said maybe Michter's product. Then I said, let's go Michter's rye. Then I thought Michter's toasted rye. Let's go Michter's toasted rye. Glass number 1. There it is. Look at that. Michter's barrel strength toasted barrel rye. I said 110 to 115. I settled on 115. It's 110.8. I will take that. The proof a little off. I called the bottle otherwise. I will absolutely take that. And Amy, this is a testament to what happened a few weeks ago. This is so obvious because of those particular notes, that coffee, that rubbery thing in here. That's funny that Sarah poured that after what happened a few weeks ago, and I don't even think she watched that live stream. She doesn't typically watch all of these live streams. She just catches the beginning, and, you know, that's pretty funny. So I will take that. I will absolutely take that. Did I like Glass 1 or no, says Amy? No, because of the rubberiness. It's just, I don't know. Glass 2, I said probably 95 proof. What I got was just that peanut butter grass. Just weird. I don't know. Tough to pin down. I said 95 proof, probably Jim Beam, 4 years, bourbon. I could see this being Ezra 99. I could have called that wrong. Let's see what Glass 2 is. Wow. Okay. So, Daniel LP, Lundquist Pescors, who is a patron friend of mine who I need to text back. Good Lord. This is a good reminder. Sent me this bottle, a Driftless Glen limited release weeded bourbon whiskey. Aged 5+ years, 96 proof. I guessed 95 proof, so I'll take the proof on that. I said it couldn't be more than 4 years old. It's a 5-year whiskey. I'm 1 year off. That's cool. This is a Wisconsin bourbon. Weeded bourbon, but a bourbon. I also said bourbon. Excuse me. What else? This whiskey's making me sneeze. Wheated bourbons make me sneeze, I guess. Obviously not Jim Beam. It's Driftless Glen from Wisconsin. But I got the proof nearly right, off by one on the year. It's 5 years, not 4. Yeah, so pretty close on that one. That's an interesting bottle. Grass and peanut butter and a little coffee. Yeah. Mike says, well, wheat is a grass. Wheat is a grass. I don't know how much wheat is in that mash bill. It couldn't be more than 49% legally, but, you know, I'm feeling okay. I headshotted the Michter's Barrel Strength Toasted. The Driftless stats were good, but the bottle guess was not. I'll take stats. That's fine. All right. Glass 3. What did I say? It's got to be a Buffalo Trace product. I said 100 proof, E.H. Taylor single barrel, bourbon, not finished, 7 years old. This could totally be a Buffalo Trace store pick. But it's got to be mash bill. If it's not mash bill 1, I suck. Oh. That makes sense, but kind of not. Okay. It is a Buffalo Trace product. So the tell on the whiskey was there that it was a Buffalo Trace product, but it's the wheated mash bill. Oh, Sarah made an oopsie on the card. That's okay. We know what she means. Weller Special Reserve, which is the entry-level Weller, 90 proofer, wheated bourbon. So where was I at? I got the distillery. I said 100 proof. It was 90. I knew I shouldn't have said that. If I would have guessed a Buffalo Trace store pick, which I was really, really erring on the side of before I went E.H. Taylor, that is a 90 proof product. I should have known that. I said 7 years. Weller Special Reserve, I believe, is around 6 to 7. So that's cool. I said bourbon. It's a wheated bourbon. That's the same thing. I'll take that. Not finished. All right. Glass 4. So this was a weird one. God, that's weird. Okay, I smelled it. I said I smell rubber. That's on the paper. I said 102 proof. That was after smelling the Weller Special Reserve. I would go against that now, and I would go down to 97 proof, if not lower. So that's my bad. But I said 102. I said bourbon, 9 years. Because it smelled kind of old. I said it's probably finished in cognac, Armagnac, or some sort of American brandy. And that makes a lot of sense. I would have went down to 97, I just said. It is a Chattanooga whiskey port cask finish. In talking about this whiskey, I'll pull this up on the screen there. Chattanooga port, I said I got a skunky note. This gives me a skunky note. Sarah has poured this now, I think, 3 times in blind flights for me. So she spent probably 20 to 30 minutes on this blind earlier. She really spent a lot of time on it. I think she probably did that on purpose, knowing she's poured it a lot of times before. And that makes sense. It has a skunkiness to this port finish. It's tawny port finished. The casks probably were not the best. There's a little sulfur note to that. Chattanooga high malt. It's weird. Definitely not 9 years old. I said it's either really old or really young. This is like 4-year whiskey. So kudos to them for that, but also the barrel selection, maybe not so great. Maybe not so great. But interesting. I mean, I thought there's a dusty note on this. I said that. It was rubbery. It was kind of dusty. I'll stand by that. All right. Last but not least, Glass E, a Scotch. I had to say that. I said Oban 14, 92 proof. I think that might even be 96. I'm not sure. But I said 92. Age, I said 14 because I guessed Oban 14. This could be a lot of things. It's a very general profile. Heather honey, whiff of smoke in the background, salty sea air. Here we go. God bless America. I was going between Oban 14 and Dalwhinnie 15, and I guessed Oban 14. 86 proof. I said 92. Both fair guesses. 14 years, I said it's 15. I guessed a Highland Scotch, essentially, by guessing Oban. It is a Highland Scotch, but, you know, I will take that. I will absolutely take that. I said right away when I smelled it, it's a Diageo product. Those have very distinct noses. Oban, Dalwhinnie, you know, even Johnny Walker, Klein Leach, you know, go down the list of Diageo products. All right. So that is that. Nailed the Michters. Driftless nailed all the stats. Weller Special Reserve got the distillery. The fact that it's a bourbon. The others were probably too... Oh, age, I nailed that, but probably, you know, didn't nail the proof. Chatty port cask finish, the confusing one of the night. It's always the confusing one if she pours it. I can't believe she's making that a theme. And then finally the Dalwhinnie. Almost landed on that. I went Oban. I shouldn't have done it. 1 off of the year, 6 off from proof. Nailed Highland Scotch. Nailed Diageo product. I'll take that, man. All right, let's do the giveaway for this evening. Amy's got it all queued up. Hey, real quick, last call on the on the distillery. What am I saying? On the giveaway, it's 10:27 p.m. Eastern Time, Eastern Daylight Time, unfortunately now. I have, Amy, I've got one entry for you in... Checking the sheet. In the Venmo, I've got one entry for you from Thomas Snedeker. I think, Thomas, that's how you say your last name. Snedeker or Snedeker? Or Snedeker? I don't think it's that. I would say Snedeker, probably. I'll plug it in. Unless it's... in for one. I can't. It's so small on my screen, my secondary screen. It should be Thomas Snedeker with a K. Deker. Entry for Bardstown Discovery releases. Love the music and whiskey content. Cheers. Thanks, Thomas. I appreciate that. Sorry, I took a second there to get the logistics down. It's so late now. He says, love the music and whiskey content. Speaking of music, I haven't changed the music. Let's just go to this playlist for the last 5 minutes here while we do the giveaway. Giveaway is cut off at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, so we have less than 2 minutes. If you want to get into the giveaway, any entries, Venmo, PayPal, or Super Chats here on YouTube, please get those in. The giveaway is a full vertical 1-ounce flight of Bardstown Discovery batches 1 through 8. Discovery 9, which I reviewed tonight, freaking loved it. You're going to get 100 milliliters of that in a 100 ml flask. So a total vertical 9 Discovery releases for your drinking pleasure, I guess. Or displeasure if it's Discovery 5, because that one's not that great. Yeah, guys, this was great practice for Matt Madness. And I feel like tonight went... Look, I don't know in Matt Madness what questions, if he gave me this flight, he would have asked. But I think I did well enough tonight where I essentially nailed the Driftless Glen. I just didn't nail the bottle. I nailed the Michters. Weller, I got almost all the stats. Chatty, not so great. But I nailed the qualities of that whiskey. And just as a whiskey taster in general, I'm glad I did that. But not a lot of points in the competition for that. And Dalwhinnie, I got really close. Age, proof was a little, 6 off. Age close, style, nailed it. I feel good about tonight. I really do. Especially given the fact that, I had the Discovery 9 comparison to 6 and 7. I did the Scotches earlier. Really small sips all night. I told myself I'm going to go small sips on this. This has been a lot of fun. Yeah, Roy, Dalwhinnie 15, really good stuff, albeit Diageo. I agree. Let me look at the chat while we get to the end of this giveaway here. If anybody wants to get any final entries. It looks like it's 10:30, so we're pretty much cut off unless one just trickles in here. Roy, I have actually... I meant to send you an email about this. I have been drinking a lot of peated Scotch recently to get my palate going for this 1985 Lagavulin. So it's coming, dude. I might not... be championed by the time that I get that review out, because I've been drinking enough peated Scotch to get my palate back in shape to hopefully do that $5,000 bottle some justice on a review video. You and Big 11 says, Cam, would the old Fitzes be the easiest for you to identify and call out right away? No, because sometimes I mix up old Fitz with like really good Henry McKenna single barrels, same proof, similar age, depending on the old Fitz we're talking. It can be tough. It can be really, and the old Fitz is very widely. All right, let's do the giveaway. Brian, Dalwhinnie 15 or Klein Leach 14? Man, that's tough. Dalwhinnie 15 a little more spunky with that kind of slight smokiness in the background. This is like the reason I didn't say Dalwhinnie 15 on Glass E. I got so much smoke to it that I thought it was probably Oban 14, which in my mind was a little spunkier. This ended up being like that. So Klein Leach 14, I love that bottle. I love the waxiness to it, kind of how smooth it is, for lack of a better word, buttery. But this Dalwhinnie is great. So I'd have to do the side-by-side to give you a definitive answer. All right. Let's do the giveaway. So I'm going to copy this. Amy, thank you for tracking Super Chats. Let me check my PayPal. I don't get notifications for PayPal on my phone for some reason. So let me just make sure there's nothing in there. We're good. We are good. So we've got all the Venmos, and we've got all of the others. Let me pull up random.org. Remember, guys, 7 runs of the randomizer. Okay. 7 runs. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. There we go. So everybody's entries are in here. All right. And it's coming from this Google sheet that Amy has set up, and she was tracking, and I was, able to check in with tonight. And there we go. And if I missed your name for some reason, and we can verify that after the fact, I owe you something, because if you were not included, that is not fair. So here's everybody right here. We're going to run 7 times. Here we go. Top 2 are winning the sample pack tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 5, 6, and 7. Boom. Winners tonight. William Molnar, or Will Molnar. I actually didn't find out if you prefer Will or William earlier. I might have missed it in the chat. And William Hall. 2 Williams tonight. So, guys, here's the deal. Congrats, first off. Congrats to you guys. Email me. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. drumsanddrams@gmail.com. Just with your name, address, that kind of stuff. I know what you won tonight. You can put it in there if you want, Bardstown Flight. And I'll get this out to you in the next couple days. Everybody from last week, Toshi Bake and Clay, which is just good old me, they already got their stuff. I'm caught up on all the giveaways and all the shipments. So I'm getting these things out in the few days following these live streams. So you should have them by, of course, next week's live stream. There we go. William Hall. Congrats, man. And it looks like we had a late super chat come in here from Retro Reeb. Retro R-E-B-E. I'm sorry we didn't get you in tonight. It was more than, a minute or 2 after the cutoff. It says 10:33 for me, so I didn't see it. Maybe we can add you into the next giveaway, because I really appreciate your super chat. So let me make a note of that on my phone. And if it's a live stream that you tune into, that would be great, and I'll add you into the next giveaway. It will not be next week. This brings up a great point, guys. I have a rehearsal conflict next week, next Thursday night, playing an opera. So the next live stream is going to be on the 30th, but it's going to be starting a little bit late, I would imagine, or maybe a decent bit late. So just look out for that. But the next official Thursday night live stream on Drums and Drams will be March 30th. Keep an eye out for the time. I'm playing a concert at 7, but I'm only playing one piece on a collage concert. And I'm not sure if I need to stick around and hang out with like donors after the fact, or if I can just go home, basically. That said, could be an 8:30 p.m. start time, could be 10 p.m. start time. I have no idea. So keep an eye out for that. At that time, we're going to start on the next live stream a rye whiskey bracket of 16 of affordable and available rye whiskeys for the most part. And that's going to be a weeks-long thing running on these live streams. And that'll be a lot of fun. There will be other things on the live streams as well, but that's just one thing to note. So Retro Retro REBE. Add to next giveaway 2 entries. So add you in. I saw you missed the cutoff there. It says you sent a super sticker, which I'm not able to see, unfortunately, in StreamYard. William Hall says, send those to Shauna Marie D. Shauna, are you still here? If not, we'll get in touch on the next live stream. I got to write that down. Send William Hall giveaway win to Shauna. William Hall, thank you for that, man. That's awesome. As long as you guys are sure, William, as long as you're sure, I'll get in touch with Shauna and get that sent over her way. 3rd win this week. Wow. Wow. The luck of the Irish or something on William Hall. Very cool, man. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Toshi loves the extra old 1910. Oh, it's insane, dude. And okay, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll see you next time in 2 weeks. There will be a Thomas H. Handy video either tomorrow or Saturday coming out. It's been a crazy busy week for me. So thank you for hanging in there and for your patience. I did the Bernheim live review on Tuesday just to try to get something out there. I will wrap up my stream with a little Discovery 9, which is this glass. This one over here is the Eagle Rare. Yeah. So a little Discovery 9. Cheers to the winners, Shauna and William Molnar. So that's it. Cheers, and I'll see you guys soon. All right.